Hey guys, this is Jacolia or Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back home, family. Whew. For those of you that happen to be new here, I hope that you hear something that will persuade you to stay. I'm sorry, y'all. Do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment down below, and share. So I'm a little triggered. Therefore, I am going to put a trigger warning on this video because I'm about to talk. I am listening to Joe Budden's podcast, Dr. Umar Johnson, Cite Your Source Part 2. And I am infuriated. And I ain't even gonna lie, y'all. I am infuriated. I am triggered. I feel for male or for other people who may listen to this and feel some type of way. Dr. Umar Johnson has been given to the black community as a son of Marcus Garvey. Okay? He is a self-proclaimed top black historian. I don't even remember what he called himself, but he said he's the top something, the most world-renowned. I know for a fact that he said on his first episode that there was no scholar that can beat him intellectually. And I volunteered for Tribute, Divine Prospect, Dr. Ron Shields of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, because Dr. Umar Johnson also stated in that first video that he would be the only black African man to open up a school with donations from African people everywhere. I'll tell you that Dr. Ron Shields actually has an accredited online homeschool from PK all the way through college that's accredited. And he also has connections and members from Africa, the UK, Toronto, Canada, the Caribbean, like everywhere. I'll also mention Zion Lex, volunteer him as tribute, as well as Pastor Lanny from First Resurrection Israelite Ministries. And amongst these three men, collectively, two of them are Hebrew speakers, Aramaic speakers, Galilean Greek, one of them, and the other one knows how to read the Meganetra and is learned on cuneiform. These are very learned men. The other one went to school for Africana studies. He's a historian. This is what he does, okay? So I'm about to off on that. They are having a conversation about victimization of sexual assault. So Joey begins to ask him what he thinks about this whole Diddy thing, so on and so forth. So, not surprisingly so, Dr. Johnson begins to deflect from the abuse that begins to take place in the black community and talks about the Catholic Church and things of that nature, which to me in itself is problematic because black people have a pure obsession with mentioning what white people do as an excuse to get away with what's at our front door. We have an issue with focusing on black issues without diverting and deflecting to the next topic. It's like when men talk about women got to come under the comments and talk about men. No, let's stick to the problem at hand. He then begins to say that a person who comes out 30 years later about their abuse, that who waits 30 years was his exact words. What? And so I'm going to just make this a combination. I watched Melyssa Ford's interview, and when I tell you, Mel, you looked absolutely stunning. You look like you did in 2004. I said, whoa, my girl got glam and makeup for this one. You looked relaxed. You looked comfortable. You looked safe. You looked heard. And you needed that. Angie Martinez, this interview and even her interview with Nikki, she has a way, and look him, she has a way of bringing out the softer sides of the women and allowing them to fully speak. Melyssa Ford began to talk about how at one of her video shoots, she went into the break room to get away because she was overstimulated. And this is after Mel said that she realized that in her youth, even before her car accident, that she was dealing with some chemical imbalances. And when I began to look and dissect Mel, And I can't clinically diagnose anybody. I didn't finish my psychology degree. This is not my student, this whatever. This is just an assertion based off of the knowledge that I have for the schooling that I was able to complete thus far and will complete very soon. And from talking to my own therapist. When I began to look at Mel, I'm like, it looked like there's some possible cluster B far as borderline personality disorder or bipolar 2. So when she began to say that she knew she had some chemical imbalances before her life-threatening car accident, and now she has PTSD, and I think Mel possibly has CPTSD because the trauma ensued before the car accident with the way she was born, with the lack of proper parenting and different things of that. She had a very tumultuous life. So she enters into the snack room to get away from people because she's possibly neurodivergent too, which is why she starts at one sentence, loops around different stories to get back to her point. I do it as well because I'm neurodivergent and I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So she begins to talk about these men came in the room one by one. And there's about 10 men who surrounded her at one time. And if it had not been for one man coming in that room, only the Most High knows what would have happened. And she said in that moment in her mind, all of her alarms were going off. Y'all, this has happened to me so many times. And this is one reason why Black women have high body counts. Because in the moment, your brain can tell you, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But your mouth and your body will literally shut down and you will give in to avoid the visions that you see flying in your head. She said, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to defend myself. The alarms were going off. And I just thought, if I make a bigger deal out of this than it is, if I make an issue out of this, even though it is an issue, who knows if somebody will grab my mouth and things will just go like, that's literally what's happened. It has happened to me with men and women. So Dr. Umar Johnson says this in a room with a woman who just had an interview talking about her trauma. She even said that things has happened to her in the industry that she will never speak to because she knows that she's too emotionally and mentally fragile to uncover her abusers because she cannot deal with the backlash. But men like Dr. Umar Johnson, who are self-proclaimed leaders in the Black community, who is a psychologist, begin to say, who will wait 30 years? I'm going to tell you this, right? As a woman that was molested at the age of 4 by 2 older male cousins, I'm talking about teenagers. As a woman whom herself and other young relatives were turned out amongst each other due to being exposed to pornography, due to certain children being molested by adults, so they went around doing it to other children, and we thought playing house was normal, so incest ensued on all ends, on every side. This story is not unique to me, Dr. Umar Johnson. The story of somebody in my family possibly being sexually assaulted caused me to be silent when I was, because I began to question myself. Why were you in that predicament? Why did you have that on? At 16 years old, I didn't tell my parents. I told one person who I knew couldn't do nothing about it and made them promise not to tell nobody. And then finally at 19, almost 20 years old, I told my child's father. And immediately he took the action that he found the need to take, Dr. Johnson. But through all of my 20s, I had to watch women who I confided in about this sleep with this same boy who is now a man. Because as a victim, your voice rarely matters. So for you to say that maybe 15 to 20 years you can understand holding it in, but 30, what? Then you turn around and say, Cassie is with another man now, so why would she come out and speak on what happened to her with another man? Let me tell you about my late mother, who's a board-certified counselor and case manager for Chicago Public Schools, who dissertations and theses at the age of 15 and 16 I had to study on so that I can edit. She was over the special education department. She was the one who knew all the laws of CPS, and I had to learn them as well because I had to learn about IEPs front, backward, and forward so that I could begin to advocate as a mother. She was married to my father for 36 years, and she was a victim of incest multiple times. She was a victim of narcissistic abuse in the church that you spoke about, Dr. Umar Johnson. It took her being married to my father for her to begin her healing process. And he stated that there were many times he would watch my mother and wonder if she would make it out. My mother died suddenly from a massive heart attack in 2021, and she was still not fully healed from what happened to her. Yet she went around writing books, preaching sermons, fasting and praying, protecting children. She became the mother and the provision that she needed in those instances to children that lacked a mother, and provision and protection in those instances. She was 56 years old. Some of her family, no, I'm going to say all of her family, other than me and my sisters and my father, and it was some stuff that we even found out in a book, we did not find out about until my mother was my age at 37. So how dare you, black man, sit with all of your power and with all of your authority and your voice and your platform, and you dare speak out of your mouth in the false bravado and the false protection of black women. You have become a false prophet in the eyes of the Most High God, and it is deplorable and it is disgusting. You speak out of both sides of your mouth. And all of us are flawed. I'm jacked up. I still battle from the things that happened to me. And I have made gross decisions that have made me worthy of death. I dare not use my voice as an instrument of death to those who have no voice. You said something about Christian Keys being sexually harassed, but you actually end up making it a joke and said sexually assaulted, and that somebody began to digitalize him anally. And you begin to laugh and ensue and say that a heterosexual black man. Have you not heard about buck breaking Dr. Umar Johnson? Is that not one of the things that you begin to speak about? And you may even do so later on in this episode, where you begin to talk about the emasculation of the black man and homosexuality. Where do you think all of these things begin to come from? Joe Budden even began to ask you, do you not believe in the power dynamics? Men can do exactly what Mel did in that moment, you psychologists. It is called fawning. It is called giving away. Are you not aware of the fact, Dr. Umar Johnson, one that is schooled and certified with extra credits, to begin to realize that the neurodivergent person, or the person that has been neurologically disposed and predisposed to anxiety and depression, that these triggers are seen in the growing as well, to make us feel as if we are being sexually pleased And this is why there is such confusion when it comes to homosexuality and lesbianism in the Black community, because many of us have been touched. So when we sleep with men and we sleep with women, it's because our body responded to it when we were children. And there was a sense of pleasure, though we lay in the midnight hour just asking that the Most High purge us and that he takes it away from us. But you begin to say, Ish began to say, Imani began to say, even off the microphone, that nobody cares about Black men that have been molested. Y'all are disgusting and deplorable and do not deserve the platforms that you have as older Black men. What the hell is wrong with y'all? I have a son. Y'all are somebody's son. I know a man who was raped by his uncle at the age of 17. Big man. And ignorantly so, in my mind, I had some questions about the age, yet I cast it down and I destroyed it, knowing that victimization I would never say it to him. I sat and I listened in the moment. My question came from his actions. Yet I had to take a step back and say that his actions was a byproduct of somebody taking something from him. And when he spoke up to his mother, when he spoke up to his brother, when he spoke up to his father, they told him that he was lying. And now it is a known fact that he has molested his own son. Because when heterosexual Black men are of age and something is taken away from them, although that's not where Christian Keys said, you as an African man created that and you laughed about it. You're a predator. And what's worse is I'm not even speaking physically because I don't know your body. I don't even claim to know anything about you other than what it is that you are showing. You are not for your people as the way you say you are for your people, Dr. Umar Johnson. You are too educated of a man to speak and have truths are whole lies. See, the thing about me is I'm not ever going to be pretending to be something that I'm not. My late mother knows everything about me. My children know enough. And my daddy know a good 90%. I've made my confessions to the Most High. There is nothing that no one can possibly hang over my head. I've done what I've done. I said what I've said. I struggle with what I struggle with. And I pray that the Most High removes all infallible things from me before he sends his son back, that my soul not perish for that which it deserves. You, sir, my God, y'all, this is y'all leader. This is y'all leader who y'all be in the comments arguing about. Defend this. I know some of you will, because some of you feel the exact same way, and you are predatory people. Anybody that's ever defended a R. Kelly or defended this person and this, I don't trust them. I don't. That don't mean that I don't have love for them. I don't care for them. Y'all, I'm going to just tell y'all like this. People who are self-proclaimed in certain positions, and this is beyond the church, when you exalt yourself as a leader amongst the people that were etched out for Yod He Wave, and you place yourself in the leadership position, as Dr. Umar Johnson has, and you say things like this, as a man speak in his heart, so is he. This is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Food for thought.